Keep it going for Maddie, come on.
When I was 25 years old, I felt like I hadn't really done anything with my life or gone anywhere. So I decided to pack all of my meager belongings into my shitbox 1986 Ford Escort and move from Boston to Los Angeles. And my friend Lynn decided she was going to make the road trip with me. So we set out we mapped out a loose course, and we decided we were going to give ourselves a month and take the Great American Road Trip. And I knew Lynn well. I knew her since high school. But I didn't know if I knew her a month in a car well. But we both seemed up for the challenge, so we set out. And our first stop was Buffalo, New York. And I had some family that lived there, so I knew we'd have a free place to stay. And even better, my cousin owned a bar. So we ended up going to this bar the first night, and we spent the whole night there. And eventually, the next day, I woke up with what I still consider to be one of the worst hangovers I've ever had in my life. And my Aunt Arlene is super stoked that we're taking this cross-country trip, so she wants to give us this big, homemade, greasy breakfast to send us on our way. So it's got the works. It's got bacon and eggs and pancakes and sausages, and we eat all that, and we leave. And then we decide we're in Buffalo. We can't leave Buffalo without having buffalo wings, so we stop and we split a dozen of those. And I'm leaving town, and I'm just stuffed with the greasiest food and the worst hangover, but I feel good because we're heading west. And later that afternoon, we go into Ohio, and I'm officially further west than I've ever been in my life. And I have this really cliche moment where I think, man, this is amazing. Today is literally the first day of the rest of my life, and I feel good about that. And not long after that, the combination of the hangover and the disgusting food I've been eating all day catch up with me, and my stomach starts making some really, really terrible sounds. So I spend the rest, or a big chunk of the first day of the rest of my life, relieving myself in scenic rest areas along the southeast coast of Lake Erie. And eventually I start feeling better after an embarrassing amount of rest stops, and I start to enjoy this trip. For the first time, Lynn and I are really getting our groove in this trip, and we're driving, and the sun's setting in front of us, and it looks beautiful. It's breathtaking, and the colors are out of this world, and the clouds are the shape that I've never seen before, and we have like the whole road to ourselves, and everything's just clicking. We're having a good time, and the sun goes down, and we're listening to this mixtape of road trip tunes that we made before we hit the road, and everything feels good. And we flip the tape over, and as we're flipping it, the radio comes on, and we hear the DJ say, this one's going out to everybody who's hiding out in their basements tonight. And we put the tape back in, and I think that's an unusual thing to say, but I don't really think that much of it. And we drive on a little further, and then out of nowhere, two things happen simultaneously. It starts raining harder than I've ever seen it rain before, and I get hit with the worst gas pain I've ever had in my life. And, we keep driving, and the rain just intensifies, and suddenly there's lightning crashing all around us, and there's thunder just booming constantly, and there's hail and wind, and my shitty car is basically rust and duct tape. So water is pouring in through the window seams, and it feels like my roof is about to get blown off, and on top of that, it feels like somebody is stabbing me in the stomach with a hot knife. And at first we're laughing, but after a little while it's not so funny because everything just keeps intensifying, and then I see through the rain, I see the sign that says Scenic Rest Area 1 mile, and I say, Lynn, we're going to that rest area. And she's like, we cannot get out of the car with all this lightning. And I say, I do not have a choice, we're going to this rest area. So we wheel in, and as I pull into the parking spot and I see the building, the sky just lights up, and there's this just super loud boom, and the lights go out in the building, and I look at Lynn, and she looks at me, and I just say, fuck it, I'm going anyway. And I grab my flashlight, and when we go running across the parking lot, and we're just getting assaulted by wind and rain and hail, and my bowels are screaming at me, and we like bust through the front door of this place, and I shine my light, and there's this group of people like huddling in the corner. And this guy yells out, oh my God, are you two okay? How close is it? And I say, what? Where is the bathroom, man? And I just go running by him. And so I do what I'm there to do, and I come out, and the storm has passed, and it stopped just as quickly as it started. And I look for Lynn, and I find her talking to these people, and it turns out that a tornado had touched down, and it went dangerously close to this building and to us, and we had no idea. And those clouds that I had been admiring earlier were part of a storm supercell, apparently. And tornadoes have been dropping all over the state all afternoon and evening. And we had no idea because we had this mixtape playing. So after a little while, we gather ourselves and we get in the car and we start driving west again. And we both have the hugest smile on our face because we feel like this is the beginning of possibly the most epic trip we're ever going to take. And this amazing month goes by, and we roll into LA, and Lynn gets on a plane, and she flies back to Boston, and I stay, and it turns out we were staying in a car for a month at a time, close, and you know, as the first couple of years went by, and when I felt lonely or sad or overwhelmed, I would call Lynn and would reminisce about that trip and laugh, and I would always feel better. And now, 20 years later, I may not be staying in a car for a month close with Lynn, but I know when shit gets really crazy, I can call her, and she'll always be my scenic rest area on the edge of a tornado.